All right, welcome everyone. I will call us to order. It is 6:32 and welcome to our February 27, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Education. We're the Board of Education. We're joined tonight by your Superintendent of Schools, Dr. R.J. Weber, as well as by the Central Office Leadership Team here in the front, the best in the business. I see a bunch of our building leaders out in the audience. I always appreciate that and all these friendly faces. I know what you are all here for. It's the presentation tonight from our Penguins, and we are really happy to be here at Moraine. Before we get into our program, though, I will ask that all of you rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
All right, are you guys ready? All right. Nice and loud. Ready?
Actually, these guys are
Pledge
allegiance to the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good job.
All right, like I said, I know that everyone is here to see the Penguins presentation, and we're excited as well. We do have a few orders of business to get to first, but I promise we will get to them or through them quickly. Roll call, first and foremost. Ms. Stewart, please.
All right. President Wilson.
I'm here.
Vice President McIntyre.
I'm here. Hello.
Treasurer Campbell-Voitel.
I'm here.
Trustee Mazurek.
Here.
Trustee Meyer.
Here.
Trustee Prescott is excused. And myself, Secretary Stewart, here.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That brings us to number 4 on our agenda. That's the adoption of our agenda, and I will hand it over to our Vice President, Ms. McIntyre, please.
Okay, I'd like to bring forth motion 76 that the agenda be adopted as presented.
Support.
All right, thank you. I have a motion properly presented by Ms. McIntyre and supported by Mr. Mazurek. Do we need any discussion on this item? Everybody good with the agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Thank you so much. That brings us to number 5 on our agenda, our consent resolutions. Again, Ms. McIntyre, please.
Okay, I'd like to bring forth motion 77 that the board accept the consent agenda items for approval as presented. This includes 5A, minutes of the February 13th, 2024 Board of Education meeting, 5B, overnight and or out-of-state field trip requests, including B1, NHS Alpine Ski Team, State Finals competition in Harbor Springs, Michigan from February 24th to 26th, 2024. 5B2, Elementary Academic Games Super Tournament in Ann Arbor, Michigan from March 7th through the 9th, 2024. 5B3, NHS Aerospace Club Nationals in the Plains, Virginia from May 16th to the 19th, 2024. 5B4, NHS Aerospace Nationals in Sheboygan, Wisconsin from May 9th to the 12th, 2024. 5B5, NHS Track and Field State Championships in Rockford, Michigan from May 31st to June 1, 2024. 5B6, NHS Track and Field Invitational in Rockford, Michigan from April 11th through the 12th, 2024. And 5C, leave of absence request for the 23-24 school year.
Support.
All right, thank you. I have a motion properly presented again by Ms. McIntyre and supported by Ms. Meyer. Just for
Dr. Campbell-Voitel.
Oh, that was you? I'm losing my hearing. Let me go back over that. So I have a motion, once again, presented by Ms. McIntyre and supported by Dr. Campbell-Voitel. My apologies on that. Folks, these consent resolutions, we will not discuss them in depth tonight, but these, just so you know, are items that we have had time to prepare for earlier, whether they've been in our board packet and we've reviewed those, or we've discussed some of these at prior meetings or at subcommittee. We probably will not discuss them much tonight, just so you know what we're doing up here. Any discussion on these items?
Yeah, just only one item I wanted to mention, and I've been on the board for 11 years now. This is the first time I remember ever seeing the NHS Aerospace Club. So we got rocket engineers, and that's kind of cool. I don't remember seeing that before, but I know we've got a really large plethora of clubs that you can engage in, and this is really cool. It really focuses on the science STEM side of it, so I applaud the team, and I love seeing these new things come.
And the fact that they're being proactive and asking for the nationals already, I love it.
They're expecting to win, aren't they? Kind of a Northville trait.
It's like the track team for states. I just wanted to give a shout out to the ski team. I believe this was the first time they've ever qualified for states. I don't know. I hope they had snow up there this weekend and did well. I honestly don't have any idea, but congratulations to them for making it to state. But to your point, Mr. Mazurek, I mean, there's a lot of great things we could highlight and talk about all night, but I just wanted to shout out the ski team for making states.
Excellent. I appreciate those notes. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Our consent resolutions passed. That brings us to number 6, our communications, and I will hand it over to our secretary, Ms. Stewart, please.
Yes, we have received communications to the board email address, npsboe@northvilleschools.org. And just so everyone knows, when those emails come in, they come directly to all of us, or not directly, because Ms. Irving collects them and sends them all to us, but we have opportunity to read all of those. So please, if you have any comments for the board, be sure to use that email address. And then we also received the Wayne Risa board highlights for February 2024.
Thank you so much. Any discussion? All right. So as promised, this brings us to number 7 on our agenda, our Marine presentation. I'll turn it over to the Penguins, led tonight by Mr. Ryman.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, Board of Education, community members, our Colt team. We're very excited to show off a lot of what's happening in our school. If we haven't met, my name is Joe Ryman, and I am the very proud principal of all the Penguin leaders that you'll see here tonight. One of the things that I think is one of the most exciting parts of the evening is all the student-led engagement that you're going to see throughout the evening. So we'll certainly see a sneak peek at some of the things that are going on in our school, starting off with some of our student leaders.
Assemblies and events. Our assemblies and events at Moraine help kids and teachers to learn more about different cultures, animals, and more. The first picture is Basketball Jones. He talks about having a growth mindset and being a good teammate. The second picture is Science Alive. Science Alive is where students get to learn about science and animals. The third picture is International Night. International Night is where students and their families get to learn about different cultures and try new foods from that country.
Family Leadership Night. During Family Leadership Night, each class has 1 out of 8 habits. Families walk around the school and the student leaders show off the habit by helping around the classroom.
Penguin Pals. Penguin Pals is a thing at our school where different grades meet up and do projects. This year, the theme is sports. We got to decorate jerseys however we wanted.
Leadership tickets. Here are some people that were caught being good. And now they put the tickets in the bin to hope that they get pulled. If they get pulled, they get a special treat with Mr. Ryman.
Classroom Learning Labs was an idea I brought on through our staff lighthouse team. Teachers choose a focused topic such as observing a reading block or a math lesson. They talk through how a teacher plans for the lesson, ask questions and decision making, and then reflect on ways to enhance their own practice. This experience has allowed the Moraine staff to continue to learn from each other and improve instruction across the entire building. We're here to welcome you to Moraine Elementary on behalf of the Student Lighthouse and Call teams. I'm Madeline. I'm in 4th grade and a member of the Call team.
Hi, I'm Josie. I'm in 4th grade and also a member of the CALL team, which stands for Culture, Academics, and Leadership Leaders. Our teams have been working together to write our goals for the school year. We have begun with the end in mind, which is the Moraine mission statement, teaching for learning for all. We believe that everyone is a teacher and that everyone can learn.
Today you will visit our teams and get a glimpse of the work that they are doing to connect students with each other and their leadership potential. Our 3rd graders lead the culture team. They want kids to enjoy coming to school. It's important to them that students feel like they belong, are able to stand up for themselves and for each other, and that they feel safe to be themselves.
The 4th graders lead the leadership team. This team wants to coach students to use the habits at school and at home by teaching the class a lesson from the Bingo Family Connection Board. We are creating opportunities for students to be teachers at home. They are creating an environment where students can reconnect with the habits through the use of painted rocks in Hannah's garden. Also, this space will be used for mindfulness and reflection.
Our senior leaders, the fifth graders, make up the academics team. They want students to participate in their own learning. This team believes that participating and succeeding in something students enjoy will help them improve their self-esteem. They will be connecting students with activities that interest them. At the same time, students will recognize the good feeling that comes from learning something new for the fun of it.
Our teams are working hard to reach out of the students of Moraine. We are excited to use the habits to make a real difference.
We hope you enjoyed your tour and activities this evening. Thank you for supporting the Leader in Me at our elementary schools.
Yay.
Now we are going to move to our breakout sessions. After our sessions, we will meet back in here for some questions from the Board of Education. If you have the color yellow, you will go with the guide over there. If you have the color purple, you will go with the purple.
I believe I'm
The
fuchsia.
guide over there.
Is that what we're calling it?
Pink?
If you have the color orange, you will go with the guide over there. And if you have the color pink, you'll go with the guide over there.
No.
You're saying guide.
Thank you again. I'm so excited. I know the board has some questions for our Penguins here. I did just want to recognize in front of you, you have some treats from our PTA that they wanted to present to you this evening. And then also the books that you see there. As you very well know, our district has been working very closely with IIRP for our restorative practice implementation. All those books were suggestions in a collaboration with our school social worker, our school media specialist, and our restorative practice coach for as read alouds and ways that we can introduce restorative practices through instructional read alouds inside the classroom. So those are all new parts of our collection here at Moraine, all tied to some of the components that we find with restorative practices. So that's what you see in front of you. But I wanted to open up to the board and see any questions that you may have.
Board questions? Yeah, Jim.
So I'll start out with a question. So a lot of you guys volunteered and you did some great things here. Tell me, what's the most fun about volunteering and have to put yourself in front of a lot of parents to watch what's going on? So either what's the most fun or what did you learn? And I only want to hear from 3 of you. So the first 3.
All right. Now, so we got 1, 2, 3. Hold on. All right.
The funnest thing is that you're the teacher and that they're the student. So it's a switch.
Okay, I like that.
The funnest thing for me is like you're helping others find their way through the school, and you also like get to teach others about what we learn and do at Moraine.
So the funnest thing for me is definitely just like going up there and presenting. I think it's so fun, and it's so fun to show what like our school does.
Very cool. So I'm going to tell you guys something back, right? And so I learned a bunch of new games today. We were out there. One, I learned how to be the big cheese. That was a lot of fun. Some of you saw that. Don't tell your parents how I did this. But number 2, we did the AAA game. And I wanted to share an appreciation, right? And I didn't get to do it in the room, but I want to share it in front of all the parents in that. So we have a really great district, right? And, you know, I'd love to be able to say that it's the board that does everything or it's our leadership team that does everything. You know, we're kind of behind the scenes, but what really makes this district special is really you, the parents, right? You volunteer your time, you volunteer your children, you're constantly giving back to this community. And we couldn't accomplish any of this without a community that wanted to be so involved and wanted to volunteer. I always laugh. We will have a principal or we'll have one of the Colt leaders say, you know, we need something, let's ask for some volunteers. And we're looking for like 5 people and 30 people show up, right? And so that's the commitment you guys have, and it makes our job so much easier. So my AAA aha moment is really the appreciation for this community and how involved you are and how you really do make our jobs a lot easier. And we really can't take credit for it. You guys should really take credit for these great schools. So thank you.
Who else?
Oh, well, Mr. Mazurk, I mean, I couldn't have said it better. That's so very true. And thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate your appreciation because that's definitely true. Our families in this district make this district. It wouldn't be what
Be
it is.
careful, next board meeting, I'll teach you the big cheese game.
I just wanted to, I just really enjoyed the student-led centers and learning about what is going on in your school. And I just am amazed by the high level of what you're doing. And I think that was really brought home for me and my group in the win-win game or not win-win. Some of those concepts were really tricky. And a lot of times we think that we're teaching these skills at a level where maybe it's easier to decipher, but even as an adult, we had to really think about it. And so you're really taking on some challenging things because, for example, in the example with the student, the 2 brothers and the 1 baseball bat, sometimes someone has to give something up. Sometimes you have to do something for the good of another person and put other people before you. And I was just so impressed by the idea that you're wrestling with these concepts and taking them on. And that's a lifelong skill. So good on you for doing that and helping your peers take that on as well. I guess my one question was the first thing that I went to was painting the rocks, which I really enjoyed. and then we're going to go in the rock garden. I would like to hear from a few of you. If you're going out into the rock garden in the future, what are some words that you would like to see on rocks? Or what are some words that you think your peers would want to see on the rocks out in the garden?
1, 2, 3. I haven't heard from you guys yet.
Maybe like kindness or being a leader.
I would like to see a teamwork.
I would like to see like being nice and being kind and not really being mean.
Did you want to say, Olivia? Yeah.
I would like to see respectfulness.
Last one.
Happiness.
All right. Excellent. Perfect.
Those are some great words. Thank you so much for sharing those and sharing your presentation. I really enjoyed it.
I think that what caught my eye is around that same game was the bingo, where students, you went home and talked with your families about the 7 habits, and you chose the 7 habit and sat at the dinner table and brought your family into an understanding maybe around something that was going on in your family. And so I think that's I think an evidence of what Jim had to say is, as well as Karen, is that this is not only teachers and leadership and kids, but it's the families at the tables who are helping breathe life into the 7 habits from the family perspective. So that was really quite amazing and a good reminder of how important families are. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I wanted to comment too on the classroom circles, that we've been hearing a lot about restorative practices and building community, and it's just is so evident here at Moraine that the community really does wrap around each student and each family, and I really love seeing that connection that goes from school to home and then back to school. I really enjoyed learning about the AAA. I thought that was a really cool approach as well, and it sounds like it happens daily at the end of the day. So it's pretty normal for people to talk about something that they appreciate, maybe even to make an apology to maybe someone in the class or maybe someone outside of the class. That it was kind of cool to hear in our circle in the classroom what some adults said about, oops, I maybe had an oops today too. So it just really normalizes that we're all human and that we value connection and that we're not always perfect. And so I was curious to know, maybe from a couple students, what's something that maybe you are most proud of or most appreciated from somebody in your class when you did the AAA experience at the end of the day, maybe today or a day last week?
So usually I would say I appreciate my friends playing with me during recess time.
I usually appreciate my partners for being really great partners because they really help me.
I really appreciate my best friend because he always is on my side when I'm sad, or if he's sad, I'll be on his side.
Awesome, thank you. It seems like these circles also help academics come along as well, because if you're connected to your class and you are sharing things with your classmates and your teacher and taking it back home, it seems like it really helps build that successful outcome for your academics. So thank you so much for the glimpse into what's happening here at Moraine.
Thank you. Yeah, so I want to start just a comment and then a question for the kids. Thank you for the very energetic and warm welcome. I mean, when we walked in, I know when we walked in together, there were several kids handing us out our passports or our cards for the night with smiles and excited. I really appreciated that. So thank you for hosting us tonight. And thank you for your preparation. I mean, it's obvious to us that you put a lot of hard work into getting ready for the board and the central office leadership team and your parents to come and maybe your siblings. And so I just want to congratulate you for your hard work. Great job. It was really obvious how much you put into each one of those presentations. The highlight, I guess, for me tonight, and there were so many, but was classroom circles. And I can't help but think, Lisa, you said it, that this is an outgrowth of restorative practices and community building, right? We've seen this in a couple of the buildings, and I personally love the way this is coming together. In your rooms, the way you do it is particularly cool. And my question for the kids is, I'm kind of assuming that you started doing this at the beginning of the year, or you've been doing classroom circles for a period of time. Were any of you nervous about getting up there at the front of the class and having to give something that you were appreciative of, or that you learned in an aha moment, or that you apologized for? Were any of you nervous in the beginning and now you're excited about it? Yeah. And now are you as nervous as you used to be about going to it? Some of you still are. That's totally normal. I think that's awesome. Getting up there and speaking to your friends and your classmates about something that's on your mind every day is pretty awesome. So thank you for sharing that with us. Dr. Weber? Who else?
Yep. So we've talked a lot about the AAA, and I'm wondering if there are other circle time activities that you guys do in other classes that are also maybe your favorites, different than the AAA.
We say like what our highlight of the weekend was. We always say like if we saw a friend during a weekend or during a break we had.
We do morning meeting where we like greet the person next to you.
We do morning meeting and we share about our weekend or what we did.
We do morning meeting and talk about how like what the day is gonna be like.
Like we talk about like what we did on the weekend, and usually everyone has like exciting stuff like in the highlights of the weekend.
So in writing class with Miss Ritter, basically we go into a circle after quick write and we just kind of like talk about like what we wrote or like something that like she asked us.
And then I do have one other really important question. How many of you slept in today? Okay, good. I'm very happy to see that. So you're going to come back to school tomorrow refreshed and ready to go for that morning meeting? Awesome.
I know Dr. Weber is going to talk in a second. I did want to acknowledge one group that we haven't talked about tonight. The students, rightfully so, have been the focus and center of attention. We've talked about our community and family members. This would not have happened without our incredible staff. We have a number of staff that are here, both paraprofessional, classroom teachers from all different levels and all across the building. One of the things that makes this school a really magical place is the staff that helps create it. So I just want to acknowledge the Moraine Penguin staff that's here that really helps guide and lead all these future leaders. So thank you for all. That's my AAA, yeah.
Thank you, Principal Ryman. I'll say that out of these evenings, the thing that I enjoy the most are actually watching the parents, grandparents, guardians, the smiles on your faces and the joy you take in seeing your kids. And we have this pleasure as educators every day. Joe opens this building in the morning and welcomes the kids. Our teachers who are back there get to have that. And we as parents kind of sometimes wonder, what's our kid like at school? Maybe. And for your parents to see that and the joy in their eyes is something universally I enjoy about these pieces. And I hope some of you got to see how your parents were looking at you. They couldn't stop staring at you. They were smiling, they were happy. And that's a beautiful thing. I think another piece is the teachers, and Joe talked about this. We had a full day of professional development today. Things around primers on artificial intelligence and how young kids learn math and so on. And here you all are doing this with that same pride and admiration for the kids that you serve. You're a gift. And then the unique Moraine piece, really, you all have like a zest for being Penguins. It is loud, it is proud. Just the pride you have in your school and what you created is fantastic. And so we actually as adults do circles. So today I led a circle of my colleagues in the third floor at central office, and I'll read you the prompt that we did today. What is a time you have been emotionally moved by an art form? And what was it? And I can say without a doubt, out of all the people, and I've served with these folks for a year and a half, I was surprised by each and every one, and it helped me learn a little bit more. So if you find a rock out there with a question mark and it looks like an eye, it's not really an eye, I'm not a good artist. But really, it's a very simple message, is to always stay curious. What's the next question instead of what's the next answer? What's the next question? And that will lead you there. So Principal Ryman, I can't thank you enough. And youngsters, thank you. We're going to give you something right now. So I'm going to ask everyone to stand up a second, please. You guys just stay there. All right, we're going to do one whoosh clap. So I'm going to count to 3. No, not you. You're going to receive it. All the adults in the room are going to give it to you. So adults, make sure you got a good wingspan. Don't hit anybody. So when I say 1, 2, 3, we're just going to go boom all at once. And together, we're going to, in a communal way, thank these kids. 1, 2, 3. Boom! Awesome. And I will also like to offer, you don't have to do this at all, but one thing that we do is we like to take a picture with parents and staff and kids. If you'd rather not, that's okay. But if you're so inclined to do so, if you could come up behind the board right now, that would be fantastic.
Get right here now.
I already know who I'm going behind.
Get scooch on in.
How you doing?
I already know who I'm going behind.
Scooch in. Are you guys, do you guys do
I already know.
Yes,
It's the whole building, not just one.
Yep, cozy up.
You guys have any points on the board yet? You?
Flyer.
Yeah.
Good job. Make sure your little faces get seen.
Mention that I wore my.
Are you going to be ready?
Yeah, come on, or I can see.
Nice big smile.
Nice big smile for everyone.
Stand on the tippy toes or not? Okay. Look at your mouth. All right, penguin.
Penguins.
Thank you.
Cute Nala.
Thank you all.
Your mom.
Good job.
Good job, kids.
Nice work. Awesome presentation. Great night.
Where'd she go?
Thank you very much. You did an
okay.
excellent job.
Good job, guys.
You did
And
too.
then you don't know how you
Oh,
again.
okay. All right. We'll see you, Nala. She was on my Science Olympiad team last year. She's high energy little girl.
I think Kim is giving one anymore.
Oh, is that right? You're on the list still.
Yeah, I think Kim is doing them.
She's doing.
So the 4 that are all, it's like the same paragraph. So I think Kim is doing the 4.
If you just need one, let me know.
I think
Fox.
you might
That's
be
fine.
good.
Out
of closed session.
I think you're good. Okay.
Well, thank you again to Moraine for that wonderful presentation. That brings us to our superintendent's report, and I'll hand it over to Dr. Weber.
Thank you very much. I know we have A, B, C, D. Perhaps we want to start with that, so those folks who are here we can recognize them, and they can beat the hail maybe that's coming later. I wore a light suit today because it was like 80, so I figured I'll get a light suit going. But then Megan told me that like around 10 o'clock tonight the skies are going to open, so we'll help them get out of here.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope everyone doesn't mind, especially if you just said you want to hurry up and get us out of here. But if you don't mind
No, we're
indulging
here for
me
a while.
Quick second, because I had a conversation with the student who nominated a staff member for an ABCD award, and I just wanted to, based off of that conversation, I just wanted to put out some points of clarity surrounding them. So I wrote down a few things. We have a stellar staff at Northville, and as Mr. Mazurek said before, that's, part of our families and having these, that makes our district what it is today. But the ABCD awards are a special shout out from someone who wants to recognize a specific person for something they have done that is above and beyond the call of duty. Every person who is nominated for an award gets an award. It is not competitive. And once they get the award, they receive recognition as well as was written about them. If the person nominating the award wants to remain anonymous, they do. But if not, the person receiving the award knows who nominated them and why. As a school board, we have the fun job of being able to read these and share the stories, but we don't share the name of the person who nominated. And sometimes we don't read the full extent of the reasoning behind the nomination based on the personal details. So I just want to thank everyone who goes and takes the time to nominate the wonderful people in our district. But just based on that conversation I had, I just wanted to give a little point of clarity on that, especially since it was a student and I love it. You know, it's great when parents and other staff nominate each other, but it's something really cool about when a student does it. So I wanted to just acknowledge that piece of it. So to that in mind, Ms. Stewart, if you could start us off.
All right, I get the pleasure of reading the nomination for Carrie Kale, who is a 4th grade teacher here at Moraine. She is here tonight. You were nominated by a parent, and I am going to do my best to get through this because I am notorious for not being able to make it through. But Miss Kale always went out of her way to make sure my son Tyler knew he had a teacher that cared so much more about him. Jeez, not even one sentence, guys. Than just a student-teacher relationship. Golly. Whether it was handwritten notes, an adult to talk to about issues at school, or being there for his extracurricular activities. Goodness. Okay. She was an amazing teacher and role model for him. Goodness, I'm going to get it through it. Miss Kale played a tremendous role in Tyler's growth as a student. So I also want to say Miss Kale taught both of my kids here at Moraine in 2nd grade and the 4th grade crazy COVID year. So awesome job, Miss Kale.
All right, I get the pleasure of reading about Ms. Debbie Eichholz. I hope I'm saying that name correctly. Is she here? Oh,
in the
yay,
back.
wonderful. Okay. So, Ms. Eichholz was nominated by a parent who states, Mrs. E always brightens our day. She supports the entire Moraine community, serving as a crossing guard in the parking lot, the first staff we see in the morning. Mrs. E has been known to hand out little treats to students on holidays. She goes out of her way to help students no matter what. After learning that my son loves jokes, she shares a joke with him every day at lunch. I so appreciate the unwavering support that Mrs. E has for students at Moraine. So thank you, Mrs. E, for going above and beyond here at Moraine.
Well, I have the great honor to speak to 4 individuals in this audience who were nominated by a single parent. The next recognition comes from a parent whose child was embraced in love and support by teachers and leaders in 2 buildings, both at Old Village School and at Winchester Elementary. This parent says, our 5-year-old daughter, Amelia, was recently and unexpectedly diagnosed with cancer in October. Principal Lindsay and our daughter's kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Fortino, immediately stepped into action to help our daughter continue her education virtually. Mrs. Fortino uses her lunch hour for one-on-one time, and she has gone above and beyond to make Amelia feel included in her classroom, including allowing us to provide a bear in the chair to keep Amelia and her classmates connected. We were also fortunate to have Amelia's former preschool teachers, Mrs. Brown, Elizabeth Brown, and Kelly Celine, who she had for 2 years at Old Village, support in the same manner. They offered to help her in any way they could, buying gifts for Amelia on their own dime, organizing a huge holiday surprise to have Christmas lights put on our house for Amelia. These 4 women are not only outstanding educators, they are a primary example of the good nature of the human spirit. I can say I was witness to not only the good nature of the human spirit of these wonderful educators, but also it extends into the families in the community who also rallied around this family and had a fundraiser and has been an enormous source of support through the PTA and family neighborhoods. So it's a great example of the continuum of support that transcends time, space, and reaches across the community. But the 4 of you exemplify this work. And so I am very happy to offer this award to you in recognition for your good work in this child's life.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
All right, thank you. Well, I have the opportunity to shine a light on Shannon Blankenship. She's a paraprofessional, probably as many of you know here at Moraine. And Ms. Blankenship was nominated by a parent, I believe, or a caregiver. And I love the personal touch that was put on this nomination, so I'll read through it here. It is hard to put into words how much we appreciate Mrs. B and all that she does for not only our family, but for all the families at Moraine, whose children are lucky to be loved by her. Over the last several school years, I've watched as she has poured so much of herself into the children of Moraine. She goes above and beyond to not only develop relationships with her students, but also with their families. My second grader looks forward to every Mrs. B morning hug and can't wait to share endless amounts of random stories with her. When he's having a rough morning and doesn't want to go to school, as soon as he spots Mrs. B, it's like all his worries go away and he forgets that he didn't want to be there. She truly is invaluable to our family. Educators like her make dropping our children off at school every day that much easier. Very well said. Congratulations, Ms. Blankenship, on your award. I don't think she's here tonight. Is that correct? All right, a round of applause.
Well, last but certainly not least, first I just want to say these are just examples of just the wonderful staff that we have in our community, how fortunate we are to have these people who put their hearts and souls in day out in the schools. Selfishly, I picked up this last one because this person is one of my favorite people on the planet. She has gotten me where I am today, and I have been in the trenches with her, and when I saw her name on here, I was like, oh, this is happening. I am reading this one. And I cannot say, I don't know the person that nominated you very well, but we both know you, and I would say we both feel the same way about you. So that's a testament to your personality coming through in everything that you do. So I get to read about Tanya Pitkin. It says, she was nominated by a colleague. I am enthusiastically nominating Tanya Pitkin for the Above and Beyond the Call of Duty Award. Tanya has consistently demonstrated exceptional dedication, initiative, and commitment to the district, and her contributions have significantly impacted our success. Even before her work as an NPS employee, her dedication to the PTA was above and beyond. Now that she is part of MPS and the Office of Instruction, she has more impact on how we can succeed. She actively collaborates on projects when needed, offering support and guidance, stepping in to assist when necessary, making it a positive, cohesive work environment. She sees when a project needs help and jumps in with both feet to help out, taking the lead when necessary and making decisions to help move the process along. Her recent help with the parent camp and wellness fair was much needed and much appreciated. Without her help, I could not have done what was needed to be a success. She takes her work seriously and does an amazing job. While working at parent camp, I noticed how she would make sure the vendors, presenters, and parents had what they needed to and enjoyed the event. Working with Tanya is enjoyable and maybe at times a little too much fun. Go T&T.
All right, that's it. That's it as far as ABCD awards. Thank you so much to the folks that won those and were nominated. Congratulations. Dr. Weber, anything else?
Thank you very much. Just today we had a PD day today, President Wilson, and I was able to stop into a few. One of the highlights for me was stopping into something that Beth Santer and her team put together around trauma and how our kids are impacted by it and how we can attend to their needs and how we take care of ourselves. And that room was filled with counselors, social workers, psychs. Beth, who am I missing? Who else was in there with you? It was packed. Counselors as well. And it was just really a fantastic aspect. And when I was in the building tonight, I was asking the elementary folks how their day was. So the elementary folks did some AI, just as our secondary did. So we've given baseline capacity building on that level. Also, I just love to hear, and this was one of the activities we did tonight, always find people who are going to lift you up. And so when I asked the teachers what from today was really good, it was awesome to hear, Miss Witters, what she presented today was phenomenal. And just hearing that praise so openly and lovingly given to each other. And that is massive. Last night at the high school, at clubs and activities, I was in the high school today, spoke with Brian Smolsky, and one of every two of our kids is in a sport. That doesn't even count everything else from an activity. I don't know if any parents got to go to that last night. It was fantastic. And I'm glad last week we gave a bit of a send-off at Cow, but it's really funny because I'm looking to the right and talking to the board, and then somebody appears at the table. And that is Abdul Maydoun. And we bid you good tidings last week. I know you don't like any of this, so I will just say thank you. And I know you were coming from Plymouth tonight. Did they say yes? Okay, good. That'd been awkward if the answer was no. Mr. Maydoun is going to be the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources in the Plymouth Canton Community District. So glad you're here with us tonight. And then finally, as we continue to explore cost-neutral opportunities to support the mental health and well-being of our children, the data that we had presented numerous times at board meetings showed that unfortunately we are seeing a trend in students who are requiring additional support above and beyond the wonderful support our teachers and our principals. And I look out at the crowd and I see the wolf pack there. It's my affectionate nickname for the elementary crew. They travel together, watch out. They are fierce in their own beautiful ways and lead our kids, but in really what they're seeing even younger ages. And I'm looking at you directly because when this work started a decade ago or more, I would have never thought that we would see the level of need that we're seeing K-5 in the kids you're serving, dysregulation, anxiety, those pieces. So as we continue to go towards our efforts to bring cost-neutral opportunities for our families and for our kids who need it, just wanted to keep the board updated that we continue to search those grants and opportunities out. And as soon as they come along, we'll make sure that you're aware. So that's it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So that brings us to, I believe, number 9 on our agenda. That is our first of 2 opportunities for public comment. This is your chance to speak to the board. You have 3 minutes. Going once, going twice. I do not see any cards here tonight. That will close our first of two opportunities. There will be another one coming up tonight. Number 10 on our agenda, new hire teacher. I will turn it over to Ms. Meyer, please.
Yes, I would like to bring forward motion number 78 that the board award a one-year prorated NEA teacher contract to Sarah Baydoun for the 23-24 school year as presented.
Support.
All right, so I have a motion properly presented by Ms. Meyer and supported by Dr. Campbell Voitel. Can we have an introduction to this wonderful candidate?
Yes, and she's actually here, so would you like to stand up to introduce yourself?
All right.
Sarah. I've had the pleasure, we've all had the pleasure of working with Ms. Baydoun. She's been a long-term sub in the district for quite some time, and she's interviewed for a few positions and it's always, for every building she's been in a lot of long-term positions. What each principal has said about her is that she has the ability to go into a classroom and just the kids just listen to what she has to say, which is half the battle. And so she's currently in a long-term position right now, and that's the job we want to hire for at Silver Springs. This is her second long-term assignment this year at Silver Springs. Again, this happened because we had an opening that we needed to fill, and Katie is ecstatic with the work she's done, and we are happy to present her to you guys to hire her.
And I'll say, Sarah, the first time I met you, last year I was new to the district, and we just talking, having a conversation. I'm watching you sling it, and you're teaching, and then you said, "Yeah, I'm a guest teacher here," and I'm like, "What?" I mean, everything felt like you were part of the building, the culture, in that aspect of it. So when Mr. Maydoun said that you were going to come join us full time, I want to say how excited I was. You have an energy, a personality, and a care for our kids that is exactly what we want for them. So welcome.
Yeah, welcome aboard. Mr. Maydoun, I believe that was the last hire that you'll be presenting to us. Is that right?
Yes, it will be.
You know, I just want to say that I have appreciated what you've brought to this position and the way you introduce these candidates and the level of diligence and vetting that you put into talking to referrals and all that. And the quotes, I really appreciate the quotes. When you come to us with the real language that these folks have used to describe the people that we're thinking about hiring, it's really wonderful to see that degree of legwork that goes into it. And I'm just really going to miss your really great grounding energy and the way you go about doing the job. And good luck in your next endeavor. Really appreciate you. Any other comments on this hire? Or Mr. Maydoun?
I think
All
it's just lovely to have someone that's already been in the district and be able to bring her on, right? You're one of us, and you're, like you said, kind of how did that happen, right? And so we're glad to finally make it official, and thank you.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm excited that you've enjoyed your long-term sub experiences enough that you'd like to come on full time. That, sometimes when people see the behind-the-scenes stuff, they're like, "Okay, I don't know if I can do that," but you've said I'm in. So really excited to bring you on full time, and so I think you're going to be a wonderful asset to a full-time position. So really excited. And I do want to, if I can take the moment, just to comment about Mr. Maydoun leaving us, that you have really brought so many great opportunities for our staff and really benefited our team in terms of wellness and health and really supporting staff in a time that it is hard to be a public servant and be a teacher. So really appreciate how hard you've worked for Northville Public Schools and just the professionalism that you've brought to this role. It's not an easy place to jump into a role, we know that, and just have been so appreciative of everything that you've brought and excited for you. Hope our paths will cross again. I know you're not going to be too far. But yeah, just come back and visit.
That's right.
Oh yeah, you already got to come back for Cook and play in the basketball game.
Okay. All right.
15, so I'll be back to play basketball with the kids at Cook. So.
Awesome. All right, that brings us to number 11 on our agenda tonight.
You have to vote.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
We'll make sure they vote for you, Sarah.
Right. We do need.
Gotcha.
So all those in favor of this hire? Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Makes it
Officially welcome.
unanimous.
Yeah.
Yes. Official welcome.
catch on that. All right, so that does now bring us to number 11 on our agenda, our 2024-25 tuition rates, and I'll hand it over to our treasurer, Dr. Campbell Voitel, please.
Happy tonight to bring motion 79, that the board approve the 2024-25 early childhood education and extended day program rates as presented.
Support.
So I have a motion properly presented by Dr. Campbell Voitel and supported by Mr. Mazurik. We have a little discussion on this, a little introduction to what we're voting on.
You going to say something, Mike?
No, I mean, we go through this process every year. Chelsea in the early childhood program does a fantastic job benchmarking, what our rates are so that we don't get out of line with other early childhood centers, both, in public schools and private organizations. So the one thing I did want to point out, though, is the finance subcommittee did review this extensively a few weeks ago. And there are two changes to the schedule that's not reflected on the backup sheet here. The parent and child 2 and 3 year old, based on that discussion we had at the finance sub, that instead of a $25 rate, that'll be $24 rate is what they have folded in. And also the aftercare rate, a few lines down, instead of $10.50, it'll be $10. So both of those, we try to keep kind of a cumulative 2-year increase under 10% a year. And so we've made those two adjustments. And other than that, the only other thing I wanted to mention is that in the budget that accompanied the board memo, one of the things that's not shown there is that we do plan about a $300,000 expenditure on early childhood playground equipment, both at Old Village School and at Ridgewood. So you can kind of pencil that in as well. And obviously we'll come back to the board once we get a quotes and put it out to bid and everything. So, but I just wanted to mention that, look for that going down the road. Okay.
Any
So
questions?
Mike, I'll just say, Mike, I appreciate the looking back at a couple of the rates. We did kind of look at what inflation was doing these last couple of years, and we wanted to, kind of recognize not to go overboard, right? And so there was a couple of items that we kind of pushed back on, and they looked at it a little bit closer and sharpened their pencils, and so it kind of keeps it in line. I mean, this is not we're not a for-profit. This is not a for-profit entity, although our goal is not to lose money on it. And so it's really a service that we try to basically cover our costs and then be able to cover the equipment that we need for it. So again, I appreciate my kind of being a pain in the ass and pushing back on a couple of the items, but I think we try to just keep things in line with inflation and be reasonable with the rates we go. So thank you.
Yep, thank you as always to the finance subcommittee. Any other questions, Kim?
I was just going to acknowledge the effort that's going into setting aside some funding for playground upgrades. And I know particularly the OVS playground is a well-used playground, not only by students during the school day, but also by the whole neighborhood around there. So it does get worn a bit. And so the effort to put some additional resources into that playground is much appreciated.
The only other comment I want to add is just, everybody hates to see increases in that, but if you are doing private daycare, we're actually really a bargain versus private daycare. So, and I know that from personal experience when my daughter was in this, but also now that I have a grandson who is now going through this, I'm listening to the rates my son's dealing with, and I look at where we're at, I'm like, okay, we're not so bad when you look at go to the private daycare. So again, kind of comment, there is increases. I think everybody doesn't like that, but in the reality of where we're at, we have to keep pace with the costs, and we really have some very qualified staff, and we want to keep them. So, but again, I appreciate going back and sharpening the pencil on those couple of items.
I want to thank everyone's work on this, the finance committee and Mike. To your point, Mr. Mazur, it's expensive, and all the research has demonstrated how important early childhood education is.
Massive.
And I think that we really provide that. Both my nephew and now my niece have been able to benefit from excellent experience at OVS. And my sister's going to be paying these higher rates next year, and I'm sure she will do so gladly. I will say, though, it really did make me think and be happy about Kinderstangs, because then we are giving families another option. Let's be frank, sometimes you have to make budgetary decisions for your family. And this, hopefully, having Kinderstangs will allow parents the flexibility to make the right choice for their parents. So I was definitely keeping that in mind. But thank you for all your work on this and making sure we can continue to provide that great experience at our preschool.
Excellent. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. That brings us to number 12 on I'm looking at fencing change order first. Am I wrong on that?
Oh, we're already there. Okay. So
Yeah, on our agenda, it's 12.
It's 12. All right.
go with
So
that then.
I am happy to bring motion 80, that the board authorize administration to award a contract to A Lockout USA totaling $363,993.60, which will be funded through Section 31AA revenue, and B, a change order for black vinyl fencing to Nationwide Construction Group totaling $89,682 to be funded by the 2020 Sinking Fund as presented.
Support.
All right, so I have a motion properly presented by Dr. Campbell Voitel and supported by Ms. McIntyre. Any additional introduction to this item?
I'll just say we
Questions?
reviewed this at Finance Subcommittee, right? And, Ms. Campbell Voitel and myself, kind of went through this. I will say that Lockout USA, this is kind of a security measure to allow communication to safety officials or staff to make it easier to kind of communicate where things are within the building. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail purposely.
Signage.
But the team really pushed back and found a more cost-effective way to do this than, I guess, the original proposal. They looked at some balancing of the needs and came up with a slightly lower cost, which is to the tune of like $30-some thousand cheaper than what we originally kind
Right,
of
it looks
came
like
up
we
with.
eliminated an item
Right.
that we felt we were able to. Do you want to comment on that, Mike?
Right. I just wanted to mention that really the impetus for the Lockout USA portion of the motion is signage, both classroom signage and building entryway signage. We, about a year ago, we work with a security consultant, and they did an assessment for us. And one of the things they pointed out is that one area of improvement that we could make is more consistent signage within our buildings, and both exterior and interior. So we worked with Lockout USA. I think they've got a real nice product that I think will really enhance visibility and, certainly assist first responders when they enter our building. And so that's really the impetus for that one. And the other portion of this motion is some fencing that is at the new ball fields, the softball and baseball fields at Northville High School. So the reason for the change order is that fencing was not part of the original bond scope, but as the engineering developed, it became necessary to do some changes in the grade and required replacement of the fence. So we looked at various options, and really the black vinyl is kind of a nice, nice kind of middle of the road. We're not going to do netting. That was one option we looked at, but that was much more expensive. So we're going ahead and recommending the black vinyl as for the fencing, and that'll match what's over there around the tennis courts. So it'll be a nice, consistent look.
And thank you, Mike, and your team for both of those issues. But, the signage aspect is really part of a comprehensive approach to safety, physical safety. We'd mentioned that Rebecca and Mike had brought in a firm to do a second evaluation, a security evaluation. But I just want to take this opportunity to know, this time last year we had one SRO, we now have 3. Every first responder in this community has key fobs to access into every outdoor space, physical keys to get into the interior space, upgraded communications and training throughout as well. And this signage allows, the high school is 500,000 square feet. And in a worst case scenario, if you're to say somebody, go to Mr. Weber's class, a police officer, a paramedic's not going to know what that even means. In this situation, the building will actually be zoned out in colors and simple numbers that are easy to read. So if they say orange 22, you know exactly where orange 22 is. Additional features of this, which and Jim appreciate, not going into too much detail, but additional features of this are individual classroom signage that helps keep our teachers and kids safe within those classrooms. By nature, when Mike and I were doing a lot of our bond presentations, we'd mentioned this before, but one of the primary questions came around physical safety, physical safety, physical safety. And I certainly hope that the community recognizes that we listened. And also this cost offset actually comes from grant monies that we pursued to get there as well. So continuing to do everything we can. Please be patient. In some ways, there are things that we've done as well that we just really don't want to share too much, so people who aren't very good in this world understand it. But thank you for the board supporting this, Mike. Thank you for your team. Rebecca, thanks for digging in to get that report done and make sure upgrading our communications. The tech team as well. Radios and things like that may seem really simple. They're not. And then the softball and baseball, I'm sure the community will be excited about that. I was over at Cook the other day, and it's really weird to step out of Cook and see the stadium stands of the football gone, the hill gone. It's amazing. So really neat things coming up. So thank you.
Yeah, no, and this is great. I mean, using the 31AA funds means we don't have to dip into our own budget. And these are monies that, again, if you don't use them in a timely manner, they go away. And so we're finding ways to use our money that are effective and actually deals with things that we will need or things that actually we're spending money on things we hope we will never have to use, but preparing ourselves in case.
All right, thank you for the great work on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. That brings us to number 13 on our agenda. That is the first reading of policies and adoption of board bylaws, and I will turn it over to Ms. Meyer, please.
All right, I bring forward motion 81 that the board approve the board bylaws and following policies for first reading.
Support.
All right, thank you. I have a motion properly presented by Ms. Meyer and supported by Ms. Stewart. This is our first reading of board bylaws and a number of policies. You saw the list on the board a moment ago. They're quite extensive, so I want to thank the team for going through this work. I'll say I have had a chance to go through them, and it does seem like they are all in need. We're in need of many of the policies in particular. It doesn't seem like too many policy changes to the bylaws, but a number of policy changes. Questions, discussion at all?
Well, if you don't mind if I just make a comment before the discussion begins, I just wanted to let everyone know that we had multiple committee meetings to create, update, and strengthen bylaws, policies, and standards. I want to thank Ms. Peck and Mr. Maydoun and Dr. Weber for their many hours of discussion that led to changes and edits and for looping us in with counsel as needed. I want to thank Mr. Boffman and Ms. Center for joining us and applicable to their roles, for also sharing their information and insights. There's a lot in here, but I hope that you found it worthwhile, and looking forward to any questions and comments.
Well, I would like to make a comment of great appreciation to the work of the subcommittee. It was clear that you had an enormous amount of policies to review. We had recent legislative changes that dictated some edits that were necessary, in addition to thoughtful consideration of just the changing world we're in and what kinds of guidance we need to have codified in writing. So I also want to say thank you for that good work to the entire subcommittee committee. I also would like to thank Rebecca Peck for the summary that you gave us.
Oh,
which
yes, that memo was
that
very
memo
helpful.
was
Yes.
very helpful about the intent and the focus. Item by item, I thought that was really helpful for those of us who are reading behind you and not having sat through all of the discussion. So thank you for that special effort. I appreciate it. And I too have been going through and looking. Thank you for providing us with the track change documents so we can see exactly where the work finally settled on the standing policies as well as the new work that you've done. So it's all made it quite manageable for the rest of us. Thank you very much.
So just for the public, I mean, we go through policies probably about a 2.5-year, 3-year rotation where we kind of make sure that we're going through it. Because as much as you'd like to think, wow, we don't have to change them that much, but the legal items, either from the state or federal, it is amazing how fast they're changing. So we're constantly having to, make updates to make sure they stay in line, with legalese and things like that. And so extremely well done. We had a very good team who went through it in detail. Only one item, and I mentioned this already to Ms. Peck. I wanted her to take a look at our substance-free environment policy. There, kids, it's amazing. There's always some new thing they're doing, right? We went through the vaping phase, and I don't know that we're done with the vaping phase, but that's going through. But now there's a new thing called Zyn, which is a kind of a nicotine piece. I'm not going to get into details, but I did ask Ms. Peck to just look at the wording and make sure that this new thing is kind of covered in that. And it seems to be gathering, maybe not at our school yet, but it seems to be gathering some flavor because, again, like vaping, they offered flavors. These companies are offering, flavored packets, and when they are cinnamon or other kind of flavors, it kind of entices the younger crowd. So again, just take a look at that. I don't know, it may cover it, but if we need to tweak a word, this is first reading, so we have plenty of time to fix it.
Yeah, it's not just the legalese, right? And I appreciate that comment, Jim. It's not just keeping up with the legal changes, it's keeping up with the times, right?
Yeah.
Just like you say. There's so many things in these policies around AI, safety, security, I saw, the substance-free environment. So a lot of great work went into this. Any other comments, questions? Yeah.
I just wanted to quickly comment also that, some of this was brought upon by the Oxford report, and it really highlighted the importance, to your point, about reviewing them, Mr. Mazurek. So as a board, we approve of board policies, but those lead to, and the report itself really demonstrated the need to make sure that they lead to administrative procedures. And that is something that we did discuss in these policy committees. Those aren't things that we vote on as a board, but I just wanted the board to know that we looked at those and relative to the changes that we made in the board policies to make sure that they're in line with what we're doing. I don't know, Ms. Peck, if you want to comment on that.
That was actually the comment I was going to make, is behind the scenes, there were also a lot of administrative procedures that had to be updated as well. So
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, the procedures are really how we go about implementing the policies. The policies are very important. They give us clear direction, but the procedures are what we do with our staff, with our families, with our students. So it's so important that we look through those and make sure that we're leaning into the spirit of the policy and following those policies to a T. We spent probably 3/4 of our time, and I loved every minute of it, even though it sometimes was like, oh gosh, we got to find something else out, but that's okay, because it pushed us to make sure that our procedures were best practice with what we're currently doing where we can, and understandable by all so that we can implement those things, particularly around those safety items that we work so closely with our staff on. And one more thing I just wanted to say, when Jim mentioned earlier, with the group, and he talked a little bit about how, our parents are so, they're so active in our schools, and they're the backbone of our community and the work that we do. I think that this subcommittee, I think the whole board, but my experience with this subcommittee made me think of that. We really pushed ourselves to make sure that we were coming up with the best product for our students and for our staff. So I thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work. It was a lot. As you can see by the number of bullet points there. Just a couple of things I want to highlight. And, when we had our committee of the whole meeting last week, we had a great discussion about AI, and, we have adapted that into our policies. And I went home, it was a couple nights later, I got my MEA magazine and read in the cover, it's like, are you ready for AI? And I do really appreciate the fact that we as a board hopefully will adopt this policy about AI. I mean, it's it's the Wild West of it. And, as Mr. Boffman said last week, I mean, staying ahead of it is difficult, but making sure that we're embracing it and trying to put our arms around as much as we can and understanding and implementing it to the best that we can for our staff and students. I really appreciate that. And then the last one, the employee ethics and standards policy, I just wanted to point out that, and I know that Ms. Peck said it in her memo, this is in line with staff already gets training on it, and it's not anything that's put upon because of something that happened. We updated our own board standards earlier last year, and it's just kind of in line with that and putting them all in one place. And I know Mr. Maydoun spoke with the union president about it, and so it's something that the staff knows about. And I just wanted to point out that it's created to be a kind of a catch-all, that's a bad word, but a place to put the expectations that already existed and training that's already happening. It's not new in that thing. It itself is new, but what the bullet points are in it, the expectations and standards, those themselves are not new.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciated the updated information and the policy around the threat evaluation and suicide intervention, that it just really makes it very clear, like what we are looking at and how we are supporting our students and our community and our staff, that they know what they can expect in terms of a workplace environment that is safe and productive. And so really
And a
appreciate
big,
all of the diligence.
Shout out to Ms. Santer and her team for making, working on that and being in the forefront of that as well.
Excellent. All right. Thank you to the entire team on that. That is obviously a ton of work. Just before we vote, just to make sure procedurally
Actually, we
we're on
don't
the
vote on a first reading. It's just
We
a
don't?
first reading. There is no vote on a first reading.
Okay.
It's just the first reading. We won't vote till the final, second reading or final unless we do them both together.
Okay.
In addition, I also wanted to point out, I mean, not only did we talk about like policies that impact kids,
Okay.
like all of the staffing and all of those legislative changes, there's a lot of detail in there. So, thank you for that too.
Yeah, and in my eye, we really have a fantastic team from, Sarah Prescott brings an eye to it and an ability to read and kind of mark it up. Karen, Melissa, super questions and careful about that. And I think the thing is the speed of change is such that Ms. Peck, you're always looking at policy because it's amazing how much it changes from a Supreme Court ruling to technology, to Jim talked about a new nicotine product. It's like, all right, so where do we have to put that in to be explicit? So thank you for that. And thank you for the board team who not only, it's not only the meetings themselves, which can be lengthy, it's all the time that people don't see where you're reading it, rereading it, searching it up, trying to figure it out. So Melissa, Karen, and Sarah out of the universe, thank you.
And Lindsay, I stand corrected by the boss. We actually do take a vote on it. We're just voting on first reading, not necessarily approval of the individual ones.
It is worded that way, so that is, I appreciate the clarification. So we'll be second reading next week and voting to approve? All right, just so everyone knows. All right, so all those in favor of approving the first reading here tonight?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Let's move on to number 14 on our agenda. I believe it is added agenda items. Ms. Irving, do we have any? Fantastic. That brings us to the second of two opportunities for public comment tonight. Going once, twice. Questions, comments from board members? 16.
So we don't get to take the books home, Mr. Ryman. Okay, darn. Okay. We just get to read them. So maybe we could come back next month, March is reading month, and we could find our individual book in the library and go read it somewhere. Okay.
I would like to just make note in this setting of an opportunity, Superintendent Weber, that is coming to our students that it's the One Day Closer opportunity in partnership with the University of Michigan Cancer Center.
Yeah, that's the part of is we started to build our relationship, and as we're going to continue to have a good, healthy relationship with one of the premier universities in the world. The Regional Alliance for Healthy Schools sent us an invite to one day closer. Anyone who's ever been unfortunately touched by cancer yourself or family members, it's a one-day event that the community is welcome to go to. So we'll make sure we post that. Thanks for bringing that up, Kim.
Well, I think it's important because when we were last guested at the high school, there was quite a conversation about the efforts that we put into supporting student access to potential future careers, ones that allow them to build on their curiosity around the sciences and STEM classes that they're taking, and that extend into what the next step might be for them, and to put them in face-to-face contact with researchers and scientists in areas that they're interested in. And I think it's remarkable, really, that our high school students have this opportunity to spend a day with people that are doing this important work.
And that's that notion of really just seeking partnerships and leveraging those resources that are out there. And I look at Joe Ryman again. He has a building here that maybe there's a kid that we met tonight. Maybe there's a kid that we didn't meet tonight that's going to save a lot of lives because of their curiosity and as they matriculate up our system and their intelligence and they're able to. So thanks for talking about that, Kim, because really exposing our kids to things like that as early and as often as we can may spark people to do beautiful things in this world.
All right, excellent meeting tonight. That brings us to.
Really quickly, I had mentioned at the committee of the whole meeting last week that I would not be able to attend the next Wayne County Associated School Board meeting. I actually looked at their updated calendar, and there will not be another general meeting until October.
Oh.
So no need to worry about filling in for me. I was kind of surprised that there's not going to be another one. They're really trying to emphasize classes. But I thought there was a lot of good information in the last one. I'm sure we will hear from them about the enhancement millage, though.
I noticed that they were sponsoring some board workshops on the site there at Wayne Risa. So maybe that's what they're doing instead?
So that's what you meant by classes, is
Yes.
kind of the training? So they
Yeah.
have one on ethics
Training, yeah.
coming up, actually, that might be of interest. I think I threw my hat into the ring to attend that. But I too was attracted to some of the trainings that they have for board members.
If you want, on the calendar they have when they're hosting trainings, and the one in March is in lieu of having a general meeting, they're doing workshops.
Right.
Okay.
6 to 9 o'clock. I can't.
So I'll just add one other comment, and that was I appreciated the committee of the whole last week. We talked about a lot of, I'll say, heady subjects, right, from cell phones at middle schools and elementary to AI and things like that. I look forward, into the future to re-talk about mental health, right? We've kind of stepped away from the clinic for the moment because of Michigan Medicine back away, but that doesn't mean that we don't need to continue talking about it. So, I'll leave it to Dr. Weber and President Wilson to kind of figure out when's the appropriate time to talk about that again and try to figure out how we move forward with that piece of it. Because while I know there was community pushback on the clinic, there wasn't pushback on the mental health aspect. We just got to figure out what it is. So I look forward to that conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that comment. I thought the the Friday update did a really great job of summarizing just a few or several of the conversations that are still going on. So good comment. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, the ongoing work and I think there really is a need there, and so we'll see where this goes. But we do continue. Stay tuned.
And I had one really quick.
Yeah, for sure.
So the district is going to be hosting a relational and practices training for, it was opened first to building PTA leadership. And then now it's been pushed out to our general community. So that is going to be March 8th and 9th. It's a Friday and Saturday, and it goes 8:30 to 4. It is a 2-day commitment. And I know we've talked with Ms. Peck about in the future being able to kind of streamline that a little more for maybe a 1-day training for people who can't commit to the full 2 days.
What about the people who want 4 days of training?
Well, it'll be you.
And thank you. This is where like you got to count on each other to have each other's back, because you saved me there. I should have mentioned that. But we're already up. I think the count was 40 that we could have, and I think we're already at 33.
I was gonna.
So it's rolling, and you know, Tanya and I, we did it today with the crew there, and it's just such a good thing. And tonight at Moraine, really seeing the kids own that AAA activity, I got to tell you, it just, we all felt it. And, you know, we talk about AI and we talk about technology and we talk about SAT scores and PSAT scores, but really, you know, all of that's going to change in this world. The one elemental human function that cannot and will not is our ability to connect with each other, to listen to each other, to connect dots, to find the next question. And we saw the Penguins here today. These are, you know, K-5 kids owning it, rocking it, and going. And so as we continue to deepen that, and for the parents who are going in this first foray, I would just simply ask, perhaps help us have how we could make this even more accessible, to your point. But thanks for the save there, Stuart.
Yeah, no problem. So I know from the board, it's myself and Lisa and Kim will be there. There are more spots open if anyone else can join us for the Friday, Saturday. And there were a lot of building PTA leaders who signed up, and some of our community partners will also be attending. So I think it's going to be really good. So thanks for Rebecca and Darby for really getting all of the behind the scenes, you know, the Google signups and you know, booking it and getting the rooms and all the necessary steps. So thank you.
All right, thank you. That brings us to our motion for closed session. Hand it over to our Vice President, Ms. McIntyre, please.
Okay, I'd like to bring forth motion 82 that the board convene in closed session pursuant to Public Act 267 of the Open Meetings Act under Section 8C negotiations as presented.
Support.
Support.
All right, so I have a motion properly presented by Ms. McIntyre, and I heard first supported by Dr. Campbell-Whitel. This will require a roll call vote, so I'll hand it over to Ms. Stewart, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so President Wilson.
Yes.
Ms. Prescott's not here. Dr. Campbell-Whitel.
Yes.
Ms. McIntyre.
Yes.
Mr. Mazurek.
Yes.
Ms. Meyer.
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Okay, so we will be moving to closed session in just a moment, but just for the few folks that are in the room here tonight, like I just said, we'll be moving to closed session. It'll just be the several of us. We will very, very, very likely only be coming back for adjournment in, I'm going to guess, an hour or two. No, I've almost a guarantee that we will not have any substantive conversation at the end of that closed session. You're welcome to stay around and wait for us to adjourn, but just wanted to give you that heads up. Anything else? So let's move to closed session. It's 8:32 by my watch.
Yep.